Good afternoon, students. In this unit, we discussed about social unification and equality of educational opportunity, and now it's meaning of inclusive education. Today, we are going to discuss meaning and concept of inclusive education, what is meant by the term inclusive, and why inclusion is important. What are the principles of inclusive education or inclusion? Education is the main source of an individual's journey towards self reliance and independence. This is the main source for independence, understanding, and journey towards self reliance. So, to fulfill the different needs of an individual, of human beings, proper education and fundamental right of an individual learner, appropriate education system must be designed and organized accordingly. Child is the nation's concern since a child is a future citizen of the country. A nation's development depends upon the development and contribution of its citizens. It doesn't depend on the special features regarding the ability, disability, ethnic character, or even language. So the country is absolutely responsible for each and every child. Remember, country is the country is absolutely responsible. Our system is absolutely responsible for each and every child and individual's health, education, happiness, contribution, safety, and success, which is possible if care is taken to educate the children properly. So, the very significant and valuable areas of education and social policy is inclusive education. Inclusive education as an approach seeks to address the learning needs of all children. And this is the most effective way to give all children a fair chance to go to school, learn and develop the skills they need to thrive. So, inclusive education means all children in the same classroom. In layman's term, we can say all children in the same classroom under the same roof. So, it means learning opportunities for groups who have traditionally been excluded, not only children with disabilities, but minority groups too. So, this is an approach which seeks to address the learning needs of all children, youth, adults, with a specific focus on those who are vulnerable to marginalization. Remember, it seeks to address the learning needs of all children, youth, and adults with a specific focus on those who are vulnerable to marginalization and exclusion. It implies all learners, young people, with or without disabilities, being able to learn together through access to common preschool provisions, schools and community educational setting with an appropriate network of support services. So it is an approach which seeks to address the learning needs of all children with a specific focus on those who are vulnerable to marginalization and exclusion. It implies all learners, young people with or without disabilities, being able to learn together through access to common preschool provisions, schools and community, educational setting with an appropriate network of support services. It aims at at all stakeholders in the system. It aims at all stakeholders in the system, such as learners, parents, community, teachers, administrators, and policymakers to be comfortable and with diversity and see it as a challenge rather than a problem, rather than a barrier, rather than a bar- barrier. So, inclusive education means education of all children with and without disabilities together in regular schools. So, it is an approach which takes into account unique characteristics, interests, abilities, and learning needs of all children. All schools have to be inclusive in their approach so that the children with disabilities have access to these schools that are ready to accommodate within them a child centered pedagogy capable of meeting the diverse needs of learners or capable of meeting the needs of all children who are different. So it aims at all stakeholders in the system, such as learners, parents, community, teachers, administrators, and policymakers to be comfortable with diversity and see it as a challenge, address it as a challenge rather than a problem, rather than a barrier. So, inclusive education means the education of all children with and without disabilities together in regular schools. It is an approach which takes into account unique characteristics, interests, abilities, and learning needs of all children. All schools need to be inclusive in their approach so that the children with disabilities have access to these schools that accommodate within them a child centered pedagogy capable of meeting diverse needs of all learners, of all children. Inclusive education means the education of all children with and without disabilities together in regular schools. So, inclusion in education means that all students in a school, regardless of their strengths, regardless of their weaknesses in any area, become part of the school community. They are included in the feeling of belonging among the students, teachers, and support staff. It is an attempt to meet the unique needs of every child in a regular school setting. All children, in spite of their disability, try to participate in all facets of school life. So some changes might be made in the mainstream to make it more accommodating for all students to meet or to cater to meet the needs of all children, because the goal is to provide an accommodating personalized education for all students within the context of a general education system. So it means all children in the same classroom, in the same school. It means real learning opportunities for groups who have traditionally been excluded. Not only children with disabilities, but minority groups too. Inclusive system value the unique contributions students of all backgrounds bring to the classroom. Inclusive system value the unique contribution of students of all backgrounds which they bring to the classroom and allow diverse groups to grow side by side to the benefit of all. Inclusive education allows students of all backgrounds to learn and grow side by side to the benefits of all. It means where children with and without disabilities participate and learn together in the same class. Provisions of inclusive education involving studies with disabilities based on the belief that those with disabilities should not have to depend on specialized services alone to benefit from educational resources, activities, and practices that are otherwise available to all. Next, we are going to discuss definitions of inclusive education.